Open your refrigerator, and there is probably a carton of chicken eggs. Not duck eggs, not goose eggs. Definitely not one enormous ostrich egg wedged beside the orange juice like a biological bowling ball. Out of thousands of animals that produce eggs, humanity somehow gave the chicken a permanent contract with breakfast. But chicken eggs are not uniquely edible, uniquely nutritious, uniquely safe, or even uniquely unfertilized. Humans eat duck eggs, quail eggs, goose eggs, fish eggs, and in some places eggs from ostriches, emus, and reptiles. So why does almost every recipe calmly say, add 2 eggs, as though the animal no longer needs to be specified? Because one bird became extremely good at mass-producing a conveniently sized object, and then humans built an international empire around collecting it. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that chickens provide about 93% of the world's poultry eggs. This is not a close race. The chicken has lapped the competition, stolen its parking space, and opened a diner. And the strangest part is that several competitors produce perfectly good eggs. Ducks can be excellent layers. Turkey eggs taste normal. Quail eggs are already popular. One ostrich egg can feed a crowd. Yet each competitor fails a different part of the same brutal audition. Lay frequently, eat cheaply, occupy little space, mature quickly, tolerate farming, produce an egg people can portion, and please fit inside existing kitchen equipment. The chicken did not need to create the greatest egg in nature. It only needed to create the most convenient subscription service. First, the common explanation that supermarket chicken eggs are special because they are unfertilized is mostly a distraction. A hen produces eggs whether or not a rooster is present. If there is no rooster, the egg cannot develop into a chick, but the laying process continues. This is not unique to chickens. Female ducks, quail, turkeys, and other birds can also lay without a male. The grocery store is not choosing chicken eggs because every other bird keeps sneaking babies into the carton. Chickens win by combining that reproductive system with a remarkably useful body. They are small enough to house in large numbers, adaptable enough to live in many climates and farming systems, and efficient enough to produce a steady food supply without requiring a pond, a field the size of a parking lot, or an employee whose only job is negotiating with a goose. Most importantly, humans have selectively bred laying chickens for generations. Farmers repeatedly kept birds with useful traits: earlier maturity, reliable laying, longer laying cycles, less broodiness, strong shells, and efficient use of feed. Modern egg-laying strains are not simply random chickens that discovered a strong work ethic. They are the result of an extremely long performance review. In the United States, the average layer produced 288 eggs in 2025. Some specialized breeds can produce around 300 in a good year. That is not a bird occasionally contributing to brunch. That is an omelet printer with opinions. Its wild ancestors were nothing like this. Domestic chickens descend mainly from red junglefowl in Asia, although the exact path and timing of domestication remain complicated and debated. Wild birds generally reproduce around favorable seasons because producing eggs costs energy and nutrients. Nature did not design them to restock a supermarket every morning, but archaeological eggshells from Central Asia suggest that by the last centuries before the Common Era, people were raising chickens intensively, and the birds may already have shifted away from a strictly seasonal laying pattern. To an early farming community, that change would have been enormous. A bird that gives you one seasonal clutch is a pleasant surprise. A bird that produces eggs across much more of the year is inventory. Chickens were also portable. Traders and farmers could move small flocks, let them forage around settlements, feed them scraps and grain, breed them relatively quickly, and receive both eggs and meat. They were compact protein machines traveling with human civilization, occasionally screaming at sunrise because no product is perfect. As chickens spread, people kept selecting the best layers. Over time, the biological advantage became an economic one. More chickens created more eggs. More eggs encouraged more recipes, markets, hatcheries, and farming knowledge. That made chickens more useful, so people raised even more chickens. The bird did not merely enter the food system, it became the default setting. Now consider the turkey, which proves that being edible is not enough. Turkey eggs are completely edible, larger than chicken eggs, and not known for having some horrifying turkey-only flavor. The problem is everything required to obtain one. Commercial turkey hens typically produce roughly 70 to 100 eggs during a year, or laying cycle used by breeders, far below the yearly output of a modern layer chicken. Turkeys also grow larger, need more feed and space, and take longer to reach reproductive age. Then the egg itself is often more valuable as the beginning of another turkey. A farmer can cook it once, or hatch a bird that people will buy as meat. Breakfast is competing with Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving has a much larger budget. This is why turkey eggs are mainly sent to hatcheries instead of supermarkets. The turkey did nothing wrong. Its business model is just deeply unserious. It is like operating a factory 4 months a year, making 70 products, and eating the machinery whenever sales are slow. Geese make the economics even more dramatic. They are large birds. Many breeds lay seasonally. and the small-scale FAO guidance describes annual production around only 30 to 40 hatching eggs. For the space and feed involved, a goose egg would need to arrive with valet parking. Geese also have a reputation for territorial behavior, which is a polite way of saying the farm's breakfast department may chase you into a pond. Guinea fowl and pheasants can produce edible eggs too, but they are generally less productive, less standardized, more seasonal, or more difficult to manage than commercial chickens. Pigeons produce eggs, but usually only a small clutch at a time, and people raising pigeons generally want more pigeons. Collecting their eggs for omelets would be like starting a bakery supplied by 2 employees who each make 1 cupcake and then take parental leave. Quail take the opposite approach. They mature quickly, require little space, and their eggs are popular in many cuisines. But those eggs are tiny. Preparing the equivalent of a few chicken eggs requires cracking a miniature pile of them, packaging costs more per bite, and the shell-to-breakfast ratio begins to feel personal. Quail eggs are excellent for garnishes, snacks, and specialty dishes. Chicken eggs are better when a bakery needs 10,000 of something that can be cracked by a machine without requiring tweezers. Ducks are the chicken's most legitimate rival. Some specialized duck breeds lay extremely well, and duck eggs are widely eaten in parts of Asia. The FAO reports that non-chicken poultry provide around 10% of poultry eggs in Asia, compared with roughly 1% in the Americas, and far less in much of Europe. That difference is important because it shows there is no universal human instinct demanding chicken eggs. Where duck farming, markets, and recipes are established, duck eggs are normal. They can be larger and behave differently in cooking, which some bakers and cooks actively prefer. But ducks come with different housing, water management, bedding, and cleanliness challenges, and in regions already dominated by chickens, duck producers face a complete industrial system built for somebody else's bird. Chicken hatcheries produce the chicks, feed formulas are optimized for the hens, grading machines sort familiar sizes, cartons fit familiar shells, trucks, warehouses, restaurants, and factories expect the same unit. Even recipes quietly assume it. Add 2 eggs does not mean 2 ostrich eggs unless your cake is being mixed in a bathtub. A duck egg may be wonderful, but it is entering a game in which the equipment, rules, and audience already wear chicken jerseys. Then we reach ostriches and emus whose eggs are edible but seem designed by someone who misunderstood portion control. 1 egg can feed several people. That sounds efficient until you remember the animal producing it is enormous, needs substantial land, lays far fewer eggs than a chicken, and does not provide a convenient single serving. Grocery stores prefer products that fit on shelves, travel in stackable cartons, and do not require a drill, a dinner party, and a legally binding commitment to leftovers. An ostrich egg is less breakfast and more a group project. It is impressive, but impressiveness is not the same as repeat purchasing. The same principle explains why egg size has an economic sweet spot. Too small and labor and packaging overwhelm the food inside. Too large and the egg becomes difficult to transport, portion, refrigerate after opening, and casually fry at 7 in the morning. The chicken egg sits in the boring, profitable middle, large enough to be useful, small enough to be personal, and standardized enough that a restaurant can order cases without discovering 1 egg has the dimensions of a desk lamp. There are also entire categories of eggs we eat while mentally filing them somewhere else. Caviar and other types of roe are fish eggs. Humans saw tiny fish eggs, placed them on a cracker, and somehow made them more expensive than the plate. Depending on local traditions, people also eat eggs from turtles, crocodilians, insects, and other animals. But edible does not automatically mean safe, sustainable, legal, or practical. Wild turtle eggs may come from threatened populations. Reptile eggs can create food safety concerns and legal restrictions. Insect eggs are too small for the familiar carton model, and are usually eaten as part of a very different cuisine. And wild bird eggs create an especially bad supply chain. Many may be biologically edible, but finding nests is unreliable, collecting the eggs removes future birds, and widespread harvesting can damage populations. In the United States, federal law protects the eggs of many migratory bird species. Raiding a wild nest is not farming. It is deleting the supplier 1 omelet at a time. A sustainable egg industry needs captive animals that reproduce reliably, tolerate human care, and produce far more eggs than are needed to maintain the flock. Chickens check every box with the enthusiasm of someone who desperately wants Employee of the Month. Food safety does not secretly crown the chicken either. Clean, uncracked chicken eggs can still contain salmonella, which is why safe storage, handling, pasteurization where appropriate, and thorough cooking matter. Eggs from other species also need proper husbandry and species-appropriate safety controls. The supermarket chicken egg is not safe because chickens possess a magical antibacterial aura. It is comparatively predictable because an enormous regulated system exists to produce, collect, clean, or process according to local rules, inspect, grade, package, refrigerate where required, transport, and trace it. If a problem occurs, cartons have dates, plants have records, and products can be recalled. Try establishing that system for an egg collected from a random nest behind a gas station. Familiarity also changes what people are willing to eat. If you grow up seeing white and brown chicken eggs, a speckled turkey egg or giant greenish emu egg may feel strange even when it is perfectly edible. That reaction is culture, wearing a fake mustache, and pretending to be biology. Egg preferences vary around the world because farming traditions vary. Once a region builds recipes, equipment, prices, and expectations around one species, that species feels naturally correct, and now the feedback loop becomes nearly impossible for another egg to break. Farmers produce chicken eggs because consumers buy them. Consumers buy them because stores stock them. Stores stock them because farms produce them cheaply and consistently. Restaurants design menus around them. Food companies formulate mayonnaise, pasta, cakes, sauces, and packaged products around standardized chicken eggs. Breeders then improve the chickens for that market, making the next generation even more efficient. At that point, a new egg does not merely need to taste good. It needs to compete with centuries of recipes and a global supply chain that already knows the exact size of the hole in the carton. So why do we mostly eat chicken eggs? Not because every other egg is disgusting, dangerous, or hiding a forbidden baby animal. Chickens are small, adaptable, prolific, portable, and heavily optimized. Their eggs arrive at a practical size, while the entire modern food system has been engineered to make them cheap and ordinary. The egg aisle is not a scientific ranking of nature's best eggs. It is the final form of logistics. Chickens did not win because nature crowned them. They won because humans built the entire breakfast economy around them, then acted surprised when nobody else could catch up. If every animal egg were equally safe, legal, cheap, and easy to buy, which one would you try first? And how many quail eggs would you crack before admitting the omelet was no longer worth it?